When I first came to Cardinal after graduating college, I was terrified. The academic world has its own rhythm and expectations, and transitioning to a work environment where the pace was somehow faster and the stakes were even higher felt nearly impossible. Although I had some work experience, I had no idea how to properly handle this change. This resulted in me putting insane amounts of pressure on myself to execute everything perfectly, resulting in an increasingly toxic mindset and ultimately a lot of burnout. But through this experience, I learned that managing such transitions effectively involves more than just technical skills. It requires a shift in mindset and approach. Over time, I discovered a few key strategies that significantly improved my ability to handle this transition to foster a healthier, more productive work life. The transition from college to the real world can be a significant culture shock, leaving many new graduates insecure about their work abilities. A 2021 survey found that half of recent graduates they polled felt incredibly underprepared to enter the workforce. College life often contrasts sharply with the demands of a professional job. And based on my personal experiences and discussions with many of my recently employed peers, it becomes clear that many individuals graduate without the practical exposure necessary to handle the demands of their first job effectively. Whether you are stepping into your first job, a new promotion, a new team, or a new company altogether, the challenges of a career shift are very real and very difficult. Everyone has faced this at some point in their career. And while that may be comforting to know, you're more likely concerned with how you might move past these feelings. So you might be wondering, what can I do about it? To combat this, you must first deploy a shift in mentality. A shift from sprinting to running a marathon. I used to approach work with a sense of urgency, short-term focus, and perfectionism, which proved unsustainable over time. If you've been to Denver, you'll understand what I mean. Whether you're planning to dance all night at Summit or even getting team lunch at HQ, failing to account for the elevation can leave you gasping for breath and unable to fully enjoy or achieve your goals effectively. Just like you need to set realistic expectations for acclimating to Denver's elevation, you must also establish achievable goals in your work to avoid burnout and ensure long-term success. By adopting a marathon mentality, learning to pace myself, setting achievable expectations, and prioritizing self-care, I was able to navigate the complexities of professional growth more effectively. I used to hold myself to unrealistic expectations all the time, believing that any imperfection would signal that I didn't deserve to be in my position. This fear of failure spiraled into an overwhelming cycle of stress and anxiety, making getting a good night's sleep feel impossible. Mornings became a battleground, and there were days where I'd zone out completely during meetings, completely unable to focus. I remember sneaking away to the bathroom a few times, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed with the exhaustion and the crushing fear that I might crack under the pressure. It was in these moments that I realized just how deeply the anxiety was affecting my life. This relentless pressure to be flawless not only made me resent the very place that I was supposed to find fulfillment, but also blinded me to the reality of my own value. While pursuing perfection can be a noble goal, expecting it leads to unrealistic standards, much like sprinting in a marathon. Just as you can't sustain a sprint for the entire race, you cannot expect perfection at every turn. There are countless variables that can slow you down, such as changes in weather or challenging terrain. Blaming yourself for these external factors is an unfair punishment that only compounds stress. Understanding that I couldn't control every detail, such as delays from third-party vendors or disruptions from shipping issues, helped me embrace a more sustainable approach. Instead of exhausting myself, trying to address every minor setback with urgency, I began to focus on what I could influence and accepted the rest as part of the process. This shift allowed me to release the pressure of toxic perfectionism and direct my energy towards areas where I could truly make a difference. Just as a marathon runner conserves energy to maintain stamina throughout the race, I began to focus my efforts on tasks where I knew I could excel. This approach not only broadened my capacity to manage responsibilities, but also facilitated significant professional growth, leading to a well-earned promotion. In embracing this marathon mentality, I learned that accepting imperfection and focusing on controllable factors fosters both personal well-being and career advancement. Your view of yourself often doesn't reflect reality, and it's important to understand that your value remains apparent, even if you take a moment to slow down and find your pace. Recognizing this allowed me to shift my focus from unattainable perfection to meaningful progress. paving the way for a healthier, more fulfilling career. Now that you've set your pace, how do you maintain it? This is where strategy number 2 comes in, fostering a supportive work environment. While certain challenges may be outside of our control, my experience at Cardinal has highlighted the profound impact of a strong support system, helping me move away from the isolation of trying to handle everything on my own. Research consistently shows that social support is vital in reducing work-related stress and preventing burnout. In fact, a 2020 survey by Gallup revealed that 70% of people are less likely to experience burnout when they receive the social support they need at work. And a more recent 2024 Gallup survey found that when employees received adequate support and recognition for their efforts, they were 45% less likely to leave their organizations. During a particularly challenging time, when our headquarters were undergoing renovations, I faced immense pressure to meet a tight deadline. Phil Labella, the IT manager at Cardinal, recognized this massive task ahead of me, revamping and reorganizing every workspace within HQ. He stepped up remarkably, taking on most of my daily ticket load and consistently offering to take breaks to chat about baking sourdough or our favorite punk shows, as well as reminding me to frequently drink water and eat my lunch. These regular check-ins not only provided me the social support I needed to stay motivated, but also encouraged me to communicate my needs and stressors effectively. This highlights the importance of managing up. I believe that most supervisors genuinely welcome the opportunity to discover better ways to support their teams, if given the opportunity. However, it's crucial to acknowledge that there might be limitations to what any single manager can provide. If you're not receiving the support you desire, recognizing that your supervisor might not be the right person to turn to is just as important. In my case, while Phil's backing was invaluable, I also sought out alternative mentors. By identifying colleagues outside of my direct reporting line who could challenge me and offer constructive feedback, I broadened my support network and allowed for multiple avenues of encouragement. These connections not only provided me fresh perspectives, but also became vital sources of social support. Ultimately, Phil's thoughtful approach and the additional support from my colleagues empowered me to maintain my productivity without compromising my health. In cultivating a robust support system, we not only enhance our own well-being, but also foster a collaborative environment where everyone can thrive. Now, once you've gained your solid footing by adjusting your pace and cultivating a supportive environment, it's time to take your journey to the next level by embracing new opportunities. At this stage, you'll feel confident in your career race, and you may even discover a renewed sense of energy and enthusiasm, much like catching your second wind. Seize this moment and let your ambition propel you forward. When I first got to Cardinal, I was just glad I got a job. The prospect of stepping out of my comfort zone was not something I had ever wanted. While I knew in my heart that I didn't want to stay in desktop support for the rest of my life, acknowledging that felt like I was risking everything again. Because what if this was the only job I was meant for? Phil recommended I schedule some meetings with the other members of the IT team. But I took this one step further and pushed myself to meet with most of the leaders throughout Cardinal, many of whom had no idea who I was. This was incredibly uncomfortable at first. Coming right out of college, I knew nothing about anything in the real world, where I saw myself in the future, or even what property management really meant. At first, these meetings were just meant to help me understand the greater scope of my responsibilities, and they did. From meetings with on-site team members to meetings with the CEO, I was thrust into a huge pool of knowledge that not only improved my ability to do the role I was in, but was also instrumental in igniting new sparks I had previously quenched because I felt I was where I deserved to be. Through these meetings, I had the opportunity to sit down with many incredible leaders here at Cardinal. They were genuinely curious about my thoughts, my interests, and at times, whether or not I could help fix their slow computers. However, these interactions also connected me with the rich data that tells the story of our business, sparking a strong desire to do whatever it took to join the data team. I began exploring courses on Coursera, arranged lunches, and communicated my interest to anyone who would listen. With a combination of hard work, a bit of fortunate timing, and exceptional support from leadership, I successfully transitioned to a new role on the data team and am thriving in this new position. But none of this would have been possible without being forced out of my comfort zone with something as simple as introductory meetings with other teams. So, to managers and leaders, I implore you to recognize the untapped potential within your team members. It is not enough to simply assign tasks and expect results. Take the time to understand their aspirations, their dreams, and their unique talents. Encourage them to explore the vast array of opportunities available within our organization. Be the guiding light that illuminates their path, nudging them ever closer to their true calling. Invest in their growth and provide mentorship. Remember, the greatest leaders are not those who seek to control, but those who empower others to rise. And to my fellow team members, recognize that your career is not a means to an end, but a journey of self-discovery. Break free from the chains of complacency by adopting a marathon mentality, building your own support system, and embracing new opportunities, even if they scare you.